for today's video, I'm going to continue telling you how I cleared my skin, and today we are going to talk about diet. Now, if you haven't seen the video on how I cleared my skin, how I went from having severe nodular cystic acne to having this with no prescriptions, no isotretinoin or Accutane, and no birth control, that video is right over here. And in that video, I explain all of the different things that I did, but not in detail. And this video is one of those videos that goes into detail on one of those topics that are discussed so that I can help you live beautifully inside and out and just kind of, I don't know, clear up the confusion. Yeah, like clear up the confusion and clear up your skin. Because I believe that diet has a profound effect on how our body operates and our acne. And I have experience both as a patient and as somebody who has studied nutrition for 3+ years. In a college setting, I've done countless research on my own. As someone with acne, I've also researched a lot myself. Now, this video is actually going to get pretty deep because I'm also going to touch on eating disorders, and I'm going to talk about a past relationship that I had in 2014 that actually affected my diet and affected my acne consequentially. And let's start back in the way back when. I'm going to tell you how I started researching nutrition, how that started to affect my skin, things I tried, things that worked, things that didn't work, and how I got here. So as of today, I am vegan. I have been vegan for 3 years, and I did it for ethics reasons. I never expected it to change my skin or my body. And something that's different between now and 3 years ago is that when I first went vegan, I was a junk food vegan. I ate a lot of Oreos and French fries. And now, today, what's different is that I consider myself a raw vegan. Now, what is a raw vegan? There is a lot of hype about raw veganism, and there's people who eat like 50 bananas a day, and from someone who is studying nutrition, I personally don't think that is healthy. That is not the raw vegan that I live. When I say raw vegan, I say it in asterisks because it is different for me. So being a vegan, that means that I do not consume any products that come from an animal. So I'm not eating cheese, I'm not eating milk, butter, dairy, I'm not eating chicken, I'm not eating beef, I'm not eating pepperoni, things of that nature. And then as a raw vegan, that means that ideally my food is unprocessed or uncooked. So technically not uncooked, but just not heated past a certain degree. It's the idea that when we have fresh vegetables and fresh foods, if you heat them past 105 degrees, 116 degrees for some enzymes, and 140 degrees Fahrenheit for other enzymes, that it actually destroys some of the living nutrition within that food. Now, there are some foods such as tomatoes, which have a chemical called lycopene, which is actually more bioavailable. Our bodies can absorb it better when it's cooked. So there are some cases where that might be better. But then again, if you're cooking that tomato, are you also destroying other nutrients? Also, when we cook a lot of our vegetables, we're decreasing the fiber. We know that fiber is very healthy, but when we cook the vegetables, it's almost like pre-digesting. When we digest, our stomach acids break things down, our teeth chew things up. When we cook or blend certain items, that's starting that process for us. So it can be very helpful, especially for anti-aging. But it can also kind of decrease some of those nutrients and kill some of them. So that's the concept behind raw veganism, and some people are very strict about it. For me, I am not. I consider myself a raw vegan, but I still eat beans and I still eat tofu because I love those things. And I don't deprive myself the plate of vegan nachos when I want them because I believe in a life of balance. But I have found that being raw vegan and adding more raw foods to my diet has been better for me. First off, the food is fresher. The food is more anti-inflammatory because it is fresher. It has more antioxidants. Antioxidants can directly fight free radicals and can help balance hormones and kind of get rid of acne. So that's been huge for me. It's also been huge in anti-aging, and I hope it'll keep me young for like another 30 years. What is my current raw vegan diet? It focuses on vegan foods. I eat a lot of cooked beans, a lot of tofu. I eat different grains, seeds such as cashews and almonds. I eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits. But when you think about it, these foods are uncooked, so maybe they have more nutrients, but they also have more antioxidants and a higher water content. And when you think about it, if you drink a glass of water, you're not really hydrating your body. It's gonna go right through you, you're gonna piss it out, and like, yeah, maybe it'll hydrate you a little, but not much. If you actually eat watermelon, or if you eat a salad, or if you eat a vegan, raw vegan burrito, there's all of that water in those vegetables. You're ingesting that and your body needs to break that down. So as you break that down, you're actually retaining the hydration and it's actually getting where it needs to go. So I believe that this has played a huge role in my acne in clearing my skin. And a couple of months ago, I posted a video called The Truth, Why I Haven't Told You How I Cleared My Skin. And in that video, I told you I wanted to add and subtract things to actually see if they were helping or hurting me. And I went from being raw vegan to not being raw vegan. And I still noticed some of the jawline acne kind of popping up. Jawline acne is routinely related to hormonal problems. And, you know, when I am not eating the best, I know that my hormones can get out of whack. My periods are more painful. You know, I definitely get jawline breakouts, etc. So when I've balanced my hormones through the foods that I'm eating and feeding my body with nutritious whole foods and eating enough of them, I eat between 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day, which is kind of crazy. But I burn it off. I'm 6 feet tall. It's going to be different for everyone. And when you're eating raw foods, it takes a lot more energy to digest those. So if you want a video on that in the future, we'll talk about it. But we're also going to talk about eating disorders and some of those things in this video because we are going to talk about a time where I lived off of cheese and Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Yeah. Probably wasn't so good for my skin. So another thing is that people will say, if you're eating all this fruit, isn't that sugar bad for you? Sugar is not as terrible as it is made out to be if it is non-refined. Refined sugar, added sugar is very bad for you, but the sugar that is found naturally in fruits and vegetables is actually bound to fiber. And because it's bound to fiber, it actually takes a chemical process and bacteria in your body to break that down. So the sugar doesn't go to your insulin and spike your insulin the way table sugar or other sugars would. It's a very slow release form and it's sustained glucose or fructose and sustained energy throughout the day. And I have found that this has been amazing for me. I got rid of a lot of my allergies. Do you remember in old videos I used to sniff all the time? Sometimes it was because I was allergic to the cosmetics I was using and the powders would get in my nose, but I would just have these chronic issues. And when I went my version of raw vegan, not only did my skin clear up, not only did this jawline hormonal acne clear up, but even some of that nose sniffliness cleared up. And a raw vegan diet, my raw vegan diet, is very anti-inflammatory. And again, acne is made of a base of inflammation. If your body is inflamed, your body is not going to be able to restore the inflammation and restore your body to a healthy, functioning, balanced state. We've done videos on this in the past as well. But if you don't put good things in, how are you going to expect good things out? So that being said, I believe that raw veganism has done wonders for my acne and in maintaining the hydration of my skin. But one of the kind of devil's advocate questions is, if diet really is that profound for acne, how come dermatologists say it doesn't work, or how come nobody really talks about it? And it's true, I was going to dermatologists multiple times a year, seeing new derms. Nobody could help treat my acne. I had seen 23 dermatologists by the time I gave up. And out of 23 or 24 dermatologists, one of them said, oh, maybe if you eat like really greasy pizza, it could cause a reaction. If you are sensitive to a food, it is going to wreak havoc on your body. That is going to cause hormonal changes, which can lead to acne. If your body does not agree with a certain food, that can cause acne. And also, we have to talk about the hormones that are in a lot of foods and the pesticides that are even in fruits and vegetables. There are fruits and vegetables that are sprayed with toxic chemicals. They are genetically modified to resist those toxic chemicals. I've done a video on GMOs in the past. I don't believe that the actual genetic modification is bad. I took an entire semester on biology and gene editing technologies, and gene editing is not bad. It's activating something the plant already has or giving it something that will help it. What's bad is that activated gene allows it to survive toxic chemical spray. So when the toxic chemicals kill everything else, it doesn't kill that plant. So when we eat that plant, we're eating the toxic chemicals. It's a lot of science and I love it and I could talk for hours about it, but if I became a cannibal and I ate you, I would not all of a sudden develop your hair color. If you eat a GMO tomato that has a frog gene, you will not all of a sudden develop that. You will not become a tomato. Now the problem is that if that tomato is sprayed with pesticides, you're going to be eating those toxic pesticides. And that is definitely a problem. That can cause acne, that can cause sensitivity, that can cause a buildup of toxins in your adipose tissue, in your fat tissue, because your fat is one of the ways that your body actually stores toxins if it can't get rid of them and excrete them through urine. And that is not good. On top of that, we do have to discuss meat and dairy. And we'll start off with meat. And before we talk about those two things, I want to talk to you about my personal history with diet. And again, this gets really personal, so I would appreciate your understanding and compassion. But you know, when I was younger, the first person I ever dated was vegetarian. I didn't know that this person had an eating disorder. And this person was vegetarian. I loved this person, like my best friend plus the person I was dating. So I was like, yeah, I want to save the animals too. So I was vegetarian and I was so happy for many, many years. It was like 6 or 7 years. Then when I was a teenage runaway, I needed cheap food. So I would go to Taco Bell and I would go to McDonald's and I would go all these places and I would just kind of eat whatever was available. And at that time, my acne was very, very bad. I was in a very bad place emotionally. I was very stressed. I was a teenage runaway. I was eating very bad. I had a lot of psychological trauma that had just happened to me because I had just gone through physical trauma. I didn't know how to deal with any of it, so I ran away from my problems. So obviously my acne was terrible. But because I needed cheap food, that's what I did. I also had someone who was literally an angel in my life and really, really helped me work through a lot of those problems and kind of come to terms with a lot of things. And the family that situation surrounded me with ate a lot of meat, so I was eating meat again. Now, I had been on anti-acne antibiotics such as tetracycline, doxycycline, and minocycline before I was a teenage runaway when I was much younger. But after I had kind of gotten a grip on things, I went on antibiotics again. And at this point, my body started reacting very badly to them. Both times when I took the antibiotics, I had problems with photosensitivity, light sensitivity, and my skin would burn. I also had gastrointestinal issues. I would throw up almost every single day because of the medication. The medication really just destroyed my insides and made me feel sick. But the second time that I was using the antibiotics, it was only for maybe about a month, things didn't feel the same. Things got really, really bad. And I would start having issues with bloating. This was also at the time that I had gotten out of a very toxic relationship that was, how do I say this? It was a very difficult relationship that I forced myself into. Certain things had happened and my delusional way of fixing those problems was forcing myself into a relationship with this person who probably didn't even want that relationship. And that put me in a very, very dangerous, bad position. But due to religious factors and due to societal issues and due to me oppressing things about myself at that time, that's what I felt I had to do. So got out of that relationship and I was going through a lot of depression, a lot of guilt, a lot of self-worth issues, etc. And I think that food was a comfort for me, so I started eating more. But then all of a sudden I found that I was very, very discomforted. My stomach would get distended and would actually blow up. I looked like I was pregnant. At the time I was modeling, people started casting me as a pregnancy model. I had gone to multiple doctors, multiple gastro doctors, which are doctors who, you know, look in your intestines and see what's going on. And nobody could figure out what was wrong. People thought, is your stomach lining tearing? Because I was like almost allergic to pretty much everything I was eating. And then on top of that, what would happen is that every single time I ate, I would fall asleep. And I didn't understand why. The pain was so bad that I would just fall asleep. And I was sleeping for 10, 12, 13 hours a day. I think that was also partially depression, but the pain was so bad that I would just fall asleep. And as I studied nutrition in the future, I look back and I'm like, maybe it was also insulin problems. But that being taken care of, I was basically living off of a model diet, which at the time I wasn't counting calories. I didn't think it was a model diet, but like I would literally wake up and I would have an omelet with like 3 eggs and cheese. For lunch, I would literally have a sandwich that was like cheese and meat and maybe a thing of spinach and just like white bread or wheat bread, but still just like bread. And then I would have like yogurt plus berries, which again was just dairy. And then I would have a cheese string. And then, you know, for dinner, I would have like a chicken parmesan eggplant something, which was literally slathered in cheese. And then for dessert, like if I had dessert, I would have ice cream. And my entire life literally revolved around dairy. And because dairy is so correlated to acne, no wonder my skin was freaking out. But anyways, I was going through all of these stomach discomforts and I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure it out. And at one point, the doctor said, stop eating gluten, stop eating soy, stop eating dairy, to try to put me on like a bland diet to try to calm my body down so that I could add foods back one at a time and see what was upsetting me and upsetting my stomach. So at that time, I was literally eating meat and vegetables for probably 4 months. I was miserable. It was disgusting. And because I didn't really, like I was vegetarian before, I didn't really like meat. Like I would eat it because it was healthy and it was protein, but it really wasn't my thing. And it made me feel sick. This problem just wasn't going away. And it was so freaking frustrating because I couldn't even live my life. I was gaining weight. I stopped the acne medications because the doctor said there could be a correlation between the antibiotics, etc. And I saw a speech by Gary Yourofsky called The Best Speech Ever. And because of that, I went vegan overnight. I was having a couple of problems when it came to nutrition, which I think I was ignoring. I think that I didn't realize that I was having those problems. But there was a distinctive moment that I really don't want to talk about, but I was like, holy crap. I am consuming and killing other animals. I am wasting their lives. I am hurting myself. Why am I doing this? And I went vegan overnight for the ethics reasons. Now, about 3 to 6 months in, I started noticing that my skin was doing better. And I was still kind of having some problems eating because I was in a new relationship at that point, and the relationship had some issues as well. The person that I was dating this time was also had experience as a vegan, which I really loved, but this person had an eating disorder. And I always used food as like a celebration. It was a reason to celebrate. It was a reason to reward myself. And sometimes I think that that got gluttonous or excessive. And sometimes I would use food to make myself feel better when I was in an argument with this person that I was dating, etc. And so food almost became kind of like a medicine or like a crutch. And even though it was vegan, it wasn't necessarily healthy. And this was at a time where I was not emotionally stable. The person that I was dating was even more emotionally unstable. And my grandfather was dying. And this person, my second grandfather, was dying. And this person even asked me and said, Cassandra, if you're vegan, why are you still modeling leather handbags? And at that time, boom, that hit me in the face. Because I was like, whoa, Cassandra, check yourself. If this is something you believe in, why are you promoting a product like that? And I thought to myself, like, okay, if I worked at a Starbucks as a vegan, would I refuse to serve other people regular milk? So it became very, very hard for me because I was like, where do I fit this into my moral values? And what was also hard about that statement is that I know that the person that I was dating said that because of their eating disorder, because they had experience as veganism and as a raw vegan, which was more of a like perfection syndrome, which had turned into some severe eating disorders. And this person was almost, my eating choices were of top importance to the person that I was dating, which obviously was not healthy for that other person, but it was something that I really didn't fully grasp or understand, like, hey, Cassandra, this is a problem. But I knew that when this person said that statement, it was like a direct kind of attack on me. Yeah. Anyways, so I didn't really see that things were going wrong. And then out of the blue, my heart got broken and I got dumped. And I remember it very vividly, and then everything else goes black. And I haven't really talked about it, and we'll probably talk about it in another video, but it was literally 20 days after my grandfather passed away. And I And I had made all these plans. You know how love is. You make all these plans to go these places with this person, and when I fall, guys, I fall freaking hard. But so this person broke up with me, and I had to go through the process of healing myself and trying to kind of get on with my life. And I was still vegan because that's what I believed in, but I got on YouTube and I actually filmed a video talking about raw veganism, and I said, is raw veganism the cure to acne? Because I had been hearing about how raw vegans, have a higher nutrient content, have a higher water content, how it can be healthier. So I tested that out on YouTube, and that video is still there. But the problem with that is that I think I was trying to justify raw veganism to myself. The reality of me going raw vegan that first time was to try to relive and hold on to that relationship. Because my ex was an on and off raw vegan for eating disorder reasons, I got dumped out of the blue and I couldn't handle it. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be raw vegan. And that was like my way of kind of holding on to this relationship that I really couldn't let go of, because that hit me so hard. And so I realized, like, hey, Cassandra, you're not really doing this for the right reasons. This, for you, you're masking it under this veil of it's gonna help your skin. So that happened back in 2014, 2015. Now it's been 2 years, and I have gone my own version of raw vegan. It's different because I'm no longer trying to relive that relationship. I have still never spoken to that person, never reached out to me, just cut me off, and that's okay. But I'm okay with that, and I wish them all the best in recovery, in health, in life, in success. But I'm at a point where that's okay with me now, and I'm fine with myself. And so this time around, going raw vegan has been a result of me actually redefining what raw vegan means to me. And it's not about being perfect, because it was like being perfect, living for a relationship wasn't there anymore. Now it's about what actually matches my lifestyle. How can I add more anti-inflammatory foods and just feel better about myself, my body, and my choices? And in the past, I also did a YouTube video on dairy where I tried to cut out dairy, but that was at a time where I was literally eating omelets for breakfast, mac and cheese for lunch, and eggplant parmesan for dinner. My life revolved around dairy. And in that video, you can go watch it. I had tried to cut out dairy for some time, and it did start to make a difference in my acne, but I was failing so much because it was so hard for me. But when I went vegan, you can actually see the difference in my skin. You can go look at those videos and you can go check it out. But my acne still wasn't clear. So it wasn't until a little bit earlier this year I decided I'm going to redefine raw veganism and for myself, and I'm going to add in more fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and more unprocessed whole foods. I'm still eating beans, and I'm still eating tofu, and I still drink coffee and almond milk because that's really hard for me to make on my own. I just don't have the time or patience. But so those are the things that I buy that are packaged or not raw. But when it comes to everything else, it's raw, it's fresh, it's vibrant, and it's non-cooked, so it's more alive, more fibrous, and wonderful. And I have noticed huge differences in my acne. Again, earlier, 2 months ago, when I added back in cooked food, I did notice that I would get hormonal breakouts here, which is a direct reflection of food having an impact on my hormones. So next, let's talk about that. What was all that stomach swelling? It wasn't just binge eating or emotional eating. It was actual problems with antibiotics and meat. So what had happened is that when I went through these nutrition courses and college level nutrition, I learned profound things about dairy, about meat, etc. And you wonder, why has nobody told you this? There's no money in it. Why has nobody explained how diet affects our body? Think about it. Our cells are renewing themselves all the time. What we put in is the building blocks to what we get out. How come no one talks about this? There's no money in it. And that's why also a lot of natural acne treatments are not proved, because there is no science behind it. And it's not because the science doesn't exist, it's because there hasn't been money to fund it. And I'm sorry, I had the opportunity to sell out many times, and that's actually why I waited so long to film this video for you. all of these series of videos for you about how I cleared my skin because I had people trying to get me to promote certain products and just say that's what cleared my skin. And I put up a big middle finger and I said, I'm sorry. I would rather die honest than rich. Sorry, that is what it is. That's what I value. But that's why we haven't heard of it. So when it comes to the dairy and the meat industry, meat, I'm not going to be one of those vegans and I'm not going to shove all of this stuff down your throat about dairy and factory farming. If you want to figure that out, please educate yourself because it is very important, but that's not what I'm here to do. I will say animals are fed unhealthy and unnatural diets. They are fed food and grains that is not what they would normally graze on. And then they are actually given antibiotics, which make them gain weight because the faster that an animal grows, the more they can kill it, or they can kill it and the more they can sell it for because there's more meat. Now, those antibiotics get into our food system. On top of that, an animal knows when it's about to die. Think about it. If you were about to be killed, you would have a lot of fear. Your heart rate would increase, your body would be creating hormones such as stress hormones and cortisol and adrenaline so that if you had the chance to escape, you could. Well, when an animal is about to die, it is scared, and that pain and that fear results in hormone surges throughout its entire bodies that get into its cells. And when you eat that meat, there are hormones in that meat that we are eating. On top of that, these animals live in, not very good situations. They live with a lot of animals packed tightly together. They aren't very happy. Even if they're called happy cows, they're not very happy. And when you have a situation like that, if you were living like a sardine against other people and you couldn't even enjoy your life or graze around or do the things you're supposed to do, of course you're going to be stressed. And again, that chronic low-level stress or high-level inflammation and stress results in hormonal changes. So when you eat that meat, you are eating the natural hormones that the animal has, because every animal, including human beings, has hormones. You're getting the increased stress, pain, and fear hormones that come from slaughter. You're also getting the stress and discomfort hormones that have been surging through that animal through their entire life of captivity. And on top of that, you're getting the antibiotics. Really, phone? Really? So obviously, when eating all those things, those get into our cells and our tissues and can create hormone disruptions in our bodies because everything we eat, our body has a reaction to. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. So what was happening is that because I had all of these problems with antibiotics from the acne medication, I was eating meat that had these antibiotics and was triggering this bloating, which was ridiculous. On top of that, we'll talk about dairy. So dairy has been linked to acne, and many people have spoken about how reducing dairy helped their acne or adding dairy destroyed their skin. And again, why is there no money in this? The research isn't always published. The funding to produce the money to produce the scientific measurements and results isn't always there, so we only have actual people who've tried it. And then on top of that, these are very big industries with lots of money. And if there is information about them that they don't want out there, talking badly about milk, talking badly about cheese and eggs and animal farming, they're gonna do what they can to hide that. And that's just the truth. I don't wanna make this video about that. I will leave some links in the bottom as well as some Netflix documentaries, some other YouTubers here. If you wanna look into it, it's your right to educate yourself. But bottom line, dairy has been linked to acne. Dairy has been shown to create hormonal changes because what is dairy? 90% of dairy is animal hormones. Literally, cow's milk is baby growth fluid. Cow's milk is supposed to make a little calf grow to 400 pounds and sustain itself. And then the calf stops nursing. We stop nursing our moms when we're young. We're the only humans that continue to consume milk in our adult life, in addition, and different animals' milk. There is no other animal that does this. And what is milk full of? And again, cheese is lumped into that milk category because cheese is made from milk. What is in that? It is literally hormones. It is stuff that's made to sustain the growth of this baby animal. And then on top of that, it's actually got morphine-like compounds. Because think about a cow and its baby. If the mother cow doesn't get that baby to drink, the milk, that baby will die. So the milk that she produces has an addictive morphine-like compound to keep the baby hooked. And that's what makes sure that the baby likes the milk and continues to grow. And there are lots of books and studies about this, but that's also why it's hard for a lot of people to stop drinking milk or eating butter or cheese, is because it does have these addictive morphine-like compounds. So dairy has been terrible for my acne. When I cut it out, I saw a huge difference. Now, mind you, I went from eating so much dairy and cheese sticks and Ben & Jerry's to eating French fries and Oreos. French fries and Oreos are not freaking healthy or good for your skin. But to see the amount of reduction of acne that I had just by making that switch was profound. And then for completely clear skin to just add in salads and greens and fresh stuff, wow. Wow. There is a lot of information on dairy and acne, and if you want a full-fledged video on that, let me know and maybe we'll do it in the future. But that being said, I think that diet is the most important thing that I have done for my acne. That is the thing that I saw the most differences in. And again, if you don't put good stuff in, how can you get good stuff out? What you're eating has a profound effect on your entire body, and it is your right and your responsibility to educate yourself on that. Again, I'll leave a lot of references in the bottom tab, but I mean, there's even examples. There was an indigenous group in Paraguay and Papua New Guinea, Indigenous, and they started being fed a Western diet full of dairy and meat. And guess what? They got acne. This was published in, I think, 2002. It was a dermatology study, and they started to break out and get ridiculous acne just by switching. And it's just like, how have I been so blind? How have we been so blind to the fact that food is how our body builds itself, and if we don't put in good things, we're not going to get good things out. So that being said, I have been raw vegan and my own version of raw vegan, and it has done amazing things for me. The other thing is hydration. I try to drink more water out of non-BPA bottles. BPA is a chemical that can cause endocrine and hormone disruption that's in a lot of plastic. So I try to drink my water out of non-BPA bottles, but sometimes it's impossible to do. But I try to drink a gallon of water a day. It is not always possible, and I actually filmed a video where I first started doing that. It was actually after another time I was broken up. That was July of 2016. And I drank a gallon of water a day, and I never posted the video, so if you want me to post the video, I will. But drinking more water has been huge for my skin. Again, the best hydration comes from fruit and vegetables because it's bound in a way that your body can digest it slowly, but still, drinking more water helps your skin so much. Try drinking a gallon a day for the next 3 days. Take photos of your acne before and after, and do not tell me that you don't see a difference. Try it. What's the worst thing that happens? You pee a little bit more for 3 days. I swear to God, try it out and see how it helps your acne. So really it's just living this kind of anti-inflammatory life. One other change that I do is that I eat right when I wake up. I eat a small snack. So when we're sleeping, our body is asleep, and right before we wake up, our body starts producing cortisol. Now that is a hormone, it's a stress hormone that gets us to wake up. This is called cortisol awakening response, CAR, and it is a natural response that happens to us every single day. And cortisol is a hormone that is very helpful to our bodies, but it is a stress hormone that can actually cause issues that relate to oil production and acne. And cortisol has also been really linked to obesity as well. And cortisol is an important hormone, you need it, but you don't need too much of it. Well, we have this natural awakening response, which is what gets us up in the morning. But if that cortisol remains at a high level, if you don't eat, that cortisol awakening response, that level of cortisol just keeps rising and rising, which is a stress hormone in your body. So for me, I keep a snack right by my bed. Sometimes it's an apple, sometimes it's almonds or a little bit of soy milk, and I literally just eat or drink that the moment that I get up in the morning, so that way that blunts the cortisol awakening response so that I don't have that high level of cortisol. So it reduces that stress hormone and hopefully helps reduce all of the negative acne causing hormones that can happen in my body. And I've noticed it just has made me a happier person too. I'm less grumpy because otherwise I would probably wait 30 minutes to an hour before eating breakfast because it takes time to cook or just to figure out what you want to eat, or to just like scroll through Instagram for an hour. That's why I actually don't check my phone until like 9 a.m. I used to be addicted to my phone in the morning. But But anyways, the basis of it is I have a very anti-inflammatory diet, and I think that that has played a huge result in my acne. And I know this is a fact because not only has it affected my skin, but it has affected jawline acne, which is known to be hormonally linked. It has also affected the acne on my chest, my back, my shoulders, my butt, etc. And so I still break out, especially when I add those foods back in, I break out more. But it makes me feel so much better, and my body is also a lot less reactive because I'm cutting out other toxins in my life. And I just feel happier and healthier, which, again, I went vegan for the animals. I never would have expected it to have this kind of an impact on my life. So that's been awesome. That's what's up when it comes to diet and acne. What are the things that I currently eat? I love raw vegan sushi. I make myself raw vegan soups. I love smoothies. I love myself some zucchini pasta. You can do a lot of things with raw foods, and it has been a total blast. If you want like a recipe video in the future, be sure to tell me. But sorry, this video is really, really long. You know, this is a video in a series of how I cleared my skin, talking in depth about each of those things that I've done. But if there's one thing I want you to take away from all these videos, it's that knowledge is power. You cannot fix your skin until you educate yourself, unless you educate yourself. And that for me, the biggest piece of the puzzle, the thing that did the most and had the biggest effect on my acne, was my diet. You know, treating acne is more than just products. It's this entire thing with all of these different pieces. And your diet is a huge piece of that puzzle. At least it was for me. So guys, as I always say, beauty is not something we have, it is something that we earn, and it is something that we learn. So I hope that you learned something today, because my goal is always to help you live beautifully inside and out. I will link you to the other videos in this series, the other videos I've done on acne, as well as some of those references that I've talked about when it comes to the industry and any science behind raw veganism and stuff like that. But just know that I love you. I hope that you are having a beautiful day, and whatever it is that you're going through, I want you to know that you're not alone. This is a safe space. You are okay here, and you are beautiful just the way you are. There is always room for improvement, but you are wonderful and beautiful and valuable as who and what you are right now. I just want you to know that I see, love, and appreciate that. So I hope you're having a good one, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.